In order to understand the hormonal control of the male reproductive function, we would like to go back to the endocrine system and talk about the connections between the hypothalamus, the anterior pituitary gland, and the testis. So all three of these glands work together in order to start and maintain spermatogenesis and the male secondary sex characteristics. So let's take a look at how these three glands work together. At puberty, the hypothalamus kind of works like as an on switch. So the hypothalamus will start producing gonadotropin releasing hormone. Gonadotropin releasing hormone will stimulate the anterior pituitary gland to secrete these two gonadotropins, and those are luteinizing hormone and FSH. Follicle stimulating hormone stimulates the sustentacular cells to start to mature and start the process of spermatogenesis, which means that they are responding to testosterone. While luteinizing hormone, in males it is also known as the interstitial cell stimulating hormone, that stimulates the interstitial cells to start producing the male sex hormones, which are collectively known as androgens with an S. The most important is testosterone. Now, by negative feedback, when testosterone is produced, by negative feedback, that is going to inhibit and prevent the overproduction of gonadotropin releasing hormone and luteinizing hormone. These testicular cells, not only do they stimulate spermatogenesis, but they also release a hormone known as inhibin. Inhibin hormone is going to inhibit and prevent the oversecretion of FSH. So let's take a look at the whole process in a diagram where you have the hypothalamus releasing gonadotropin releasing hormone, stimulating the anterior pituitary. The anterior pituitary will then release its two hormones. It will release FSH. FSH through the bloodstream will reach the testis, and that will stimulate the sustentacular cells to start the spermatogenesis process. These sustentacular cells also produce inhibin. Inhibin through the bloodstream will reach the anterior pituitary, and inhibin prevents the oversecretion of follicle stimulating hormone from the anterior pituitary. Now LH, or luteinizing hormone, reaches the testis, and it stimulates the interstitial cells to start producing the androgens. Again, the most important one is testosterone. And when testosterone goes through the bloodstream, through negative feedback, it will inhibit both the hypothalamus and the anterior pituitary. So it will prevent the oversecretion of gonadotropin releasing hormone, and it also prevents the oversecretion of luteinizing hormone. So notice that inhibin inhibits the secretion of FSH, while it's the androgens that inhibit the secretion of luteinizing hormones. Now, testosterone and all of the other androgens, they obviously have other effects on the male reproductive system. So it increases, for example, facial hair in the axillary and in the pubic areas. It increases muscle mass. It increases the metabolic rates, and also enlarges the accessory reproductive organs. It increases the size of the larynx, leading to the formation of Adam's apple, which is the laryngeal eminence, and leads to all of these changes that happen during puberty and then are maintained throughout life. So the male sex hormones, again, collectively are known as androgens. The most important one is testosterone, but there is another source of androgens beside the testis, and that would be the adrenal cortex. The androgens are secreted during fetal development towards the late part the late month or two of pregnancy, where leading to the descent of the testis. So if you guys remember, we talked about this earlier in the chapter. And then its secretion stops until puberty hits, and that's when it resumes. So the actions of testosterone prior to birth, it helps in the development of the male reproductive organs, and it also stimulates the descent of the testis into the scrotum. And then, like as I said, testosterone levels decrease throughout infancy, childhood, and not until puberty where its secretion starts to increase again. During puberty, the action of testosterone would be to enlarge the testis, which is the primary sex organ, and to also enlarge the accessory organs. It leads to the development of the secondary sexual characteristics. Those are increase the growth of body hair. Sometimes it actually decreases the growth of scalp hair. So high androgen levels, high testosterone levels in particular, have been implicated as a cause for male baldness. Testosterone leads to the enlargement of the larynx, and the thickening of the vocal cords, leading to that change in voice. Thickening of the skin, increase in muscle mass, the growth spurt that happens in the bones, leading to elongation and thickening of the bones, followed by the complete ossification of the growth plates. Testosterone generally leads to the increased rate of red blood cell production. So if you remember when we talked in the when we were discussing the blood chapter, we said that on general rule is that males have a higher red blood cell count than females do, and on general they have a higher metabolic rate. These are obviously cannot be generalized to everybody in the population, but on average. Now the next part, we will start talking about the female reproductive system.